Thank you everyone for joining Retail Dialogue with Nihiland. We'll be deep diving into various challenges faced by the retail sector, and we'll be focusing today specifically on the impact of store level supply chain management on QSR profitability. Before we begin, just a quick house rules for everybody. All participant microphones will remain muted throughout the session except for the panelists. The panel discussion will be the focus in the first 30 to 40 minutes, and then there will be a Q&A session. You can submit your questions in the chat section of the chat box, not the question section, but the chat section. And during the Q&A session, the panelists will answer as many questions as possible. If you have any additional questions or require any assistance, you can drop us a message and one of the team members will get in touch with you. Now, to kick off the proceedings, it's my pleasure to introduce our esteemed panelists for the evening. Our first panelist on board is Mr. Sandeep Sharma, the Director of Group Procurement and International Market Supply Chain at Domino's Pizza within Almar Foods, UAE. Mr. Sharma brings a wealth of experience having collaborated with renowned organizations such as Heinz, Swiss Group, Papa John's, and Kraft Heinz Company. His career has provided him extensive exposure and expertise in customer service logistics within the food and beverage industry. He's highly proficient in various domains, including operations management, warehouse operations, management information systems, business development, and general management. Our second panelist for the session is Mr. Kiran Komatla, the Group Chief Technology Officer with Restaurant Brand Asia. With over 2 decades of experience, Mr. Komatla has had illustrious career tenures with prestigious organizations like CDO, Aditya Birla Retail, and Future Group India. His expertise spans multiple areas, including retail, IT, project management, customer experience, e-commerce, and vendor management. We're extremely thankful to Mr. Sharma and Mr. Komatla for accepting our invitation and agreeing to be part of Retail Dialogue with Nihiland. The panelists today will be in conversation with Mr. Ajay Agarwal. He's the head of retail at Nihiland. Mr. Agarwal brings over 3 decades of wealth of experience to the table, not only in technology, but also in retail and as a successful entrepreneur. His insights are global and his knowledge of retail trends is profound. We couldn't have asked for a better panel for this session and can say that we're in capable hands today. So without any further ado, I hand over the session to Mr. Agarwal to begin the panel discussion.
Thank you, Rachita. Thank you very much. And I must thank all of the participants and Sandeep and Kiran for being with us. And it is really a pleasure to have you and have a conversation on such an important topic. And why I'm calling it an important topic, because QSR business is completely unique than any other retail trading business. It's like, you're running a mini factory in every store because you're selling SKUs, but you're not really stocking them. You're producing them in the store live. You have 80% or 70 to 80% of your ingredients in any food and QSR business, which are perishable, highly perishable. And you have always struggling with the demand variability, which is very, very seasonal, very time of the day, events of the day, demographic of the store. So there are various factors associated with that. And that's what makes this particular format of retail a little more crucial and important. Now that we have 2 practitioners, Sandeep and Kiran, with us, and they come with different specializations, Sandeep being a legend in supply chain and Kiran being a tech guy, I think, let's uncover some of the problems and the possible solutions for this problem which we're addressing today. So let me start with both of you first. As the CXOs in your respective roles, in your opinion, what are the kind of KPIs? Do the store profitability emerge as an important KPI in CXO's role? I know operations head in these businesses, they always, for them, store profitability is important. But in the case of a CTO and a supply chain head or a procurement head, what do you think is the importance of store profitability? Sandeep?
Thank you, Ajay. Thank you so much, and thank you for getting us a part of this esteemed panel. I hope we will have a very productive discussions. So when we talk about typical KPI, so I personally feel that KPIs are has become a very dynamic word now, and we have seen the world changing over the last 4 years. Every year a different change. I'll say a surprising change, good or bad. That's a different perspective, but a surprising change, and definitely the KPI has to be aligned with that. So when you talk of a typical scenario in which we operate in the markets, they are normally like Middle East, North Africa markets, including the Pakistan. So we have a different kind of scenario here because of, first thing is we have a majority of imports coming into these countries. Okay, India is more self-sufficient in terms of the production and all these kind of things, but these countries have a lot of imports coming in. So one thing that defines that entire thing is basically geopolitical situation. The commodity and the geopolitical situations linked out of a commodity pricing that's happening across the countries. Okay, so that's part of it, because I've seen supply chain going from a demand planning into a commodity hedging, where you really look at a commodity, and then a lot of time your entire optimization of the demand planning just goes for a toss, because that's more important compared to how do you plan based on the previous incident or the trends, because the trends are not going to work out in the future because of some lot of factors that have happened. So a typical KPI for us will be basically OTIF. OTIF is one of the biggest KPI for us that happens. Okay, but it has got its own definitions of OTIF now. So I think so we have forgotten the word savings that used to come in supply chain at one point of time. It's optimization. How do you really optimize it to a level that is the most efficient one in terms of 360 degree? So that is one part of it. The second part of it is that the KPI is basically, for me, will be information and data flow and the integration of these two, because that actually creates a lot of ease in making a decision at different levels. And the decision should not be concentrated at one level. It has to be made at a separate levels, because the decision making time really makes a lot of difference during this kind of dynamic or volatile process. Okay. The second KPI for me is optimization of the shelf life. So how do you optimize the shelf life? Because the shelf life becomes a major challenge, because the sales mix are changing, the dynamics are changing, customer preferences are changing. So that's a main thing, but there is also a lot of link with the data flow and the information flow. The third KPI for me is basically the working capital and the inventory carrying cost, which is a big thing now, because when you have a challenge coming in terms of your sales mix and a sales spend, the top line and all these kind of things, the biggest thing is how do you actually take care of your inventory part, which is a biggest cash flow drainer for us. So thank you.
That's lovely. Kiran, what is your opinion about it?
Yeah. Okay. Good evening. First of all, thank you, Ajay, for inviting to participate this session. Unlike Sandeep said, at least in India, we are privileged to have there is no challenge in terms of inventory management or procurement from out of India. The sourcing happens throughout all the seasons within India. In that way, in India, the market is much safer, and we don't carry that challenge. How we see KPIs in terms of supply chain in India is, first of all, the order to suppliers, the supplier planning. So most of this planning happens 2 to 4 months before it hits your restaurants. So the planning is part of it. Second thing is, large portion of supply chain is handled through 3PL in India. And India is completely diversified in terms of proportion of sales mix, as well as geographically, the demand supply has to be managed accordingly to different pockets. So we have to make the plan accordingly, and how your third-party supply chain planning happens using the data integration, the demand planning going to their systems, and from there it going to the supplying and manufacturing part. And the third bit is at the store level efficiencies, which Sandeep touched upon. So basically, the main KPI is how much optimal inventory you can manage, and what is a good fill rate you can manage with the available planning, how you forecast it. And in India, we work with seasonality, we work with events, we work with some religious events, functions, festivals. So considering everything in the planning, we create the demand forecasting in the system, and we consider these factors, and we create a monthly calendar. And then this will be going to a third party through integration, and the third party supply chain management teams will be able to sum up this and get this replacement. In this process, there is also a different problem to address. Is you have metro cities where you have a density of stores sitting within a city, where the last mile deliveries can be, actually you can do almost everyday delivery in some cities and some cases. Whereas some restaurants which are far, especially the far east part of India or towards down south, or some of the pockets where we have a very less operational restaurants. So the planning of your logistics, there this has to be summed up to alternative day supply or 3 days a supply week. So this is some of the critical challenges where if one supply cycle misses due to any external factors, it will have an impact on the supply. So these are the some key areas where we make sure that systems help, and we factor this into the system, and that's how we plan our KPIs in terms of entire last mile delivery as well as the supply at third party warehouses.
So before I come back to Sandeep, to you for the supply chain practices in the store, let me ask one more small question from you. The store profitability, what is the contribution of supply chain and what is the contribution of operational efficiency? Like, or anything, there is anything else which contributes to store profitability?
I see both are married. It's the operational efficiency comes only if you have a strong supply chain management. So fill rates are crucial. Anywhere, if you are having excess stock, being so perishable products, that will create a lot of wastage. At the same time, shortage of stock will completely affect the operational plan. So this is hand in hand, and supply chain efficiency is most critical to us. And we operate with a minimum stock at restaurants. So the planning of this is one of the key factors.
Thanks. Yeah, so I think operational efficiency, you're absolutely right. It's very much linked to the supply chain, partly, apart from the manpower, cost and efficiency. So Sandeep, let me come to your core subject about current practices of planning supply chain in a store, and especially on a daily basis. First of all, is the inventory planning is based on demand or based on the inventory, or do you think the demand sensing is becoming, demand planning is becoming an important factor in the real time basis?
I think there is the two facets, or it's not perspective, it's two facets to it. What is happening in the store has a lot of link with the demand sensing, and it has to be a high-end real-time kind of data flow, because we actually operate 11 countries. 11 countries sales mix are supposed to be different. There are different seasonalities happening in all these countries. There are different inflation factor. Inflation factor has got a high kind of thing on demand patterns of the consumers. Okay, so the family size matters in these countries. What is the kind of a family size? The family size you will find in Saudi Arabia will be very different from UAE, or maybe very different from Pakistan. So there is also, so the demand sensing has become a big topic now. And if you ask me, it's a real-time tool which can really change the scenario in terms of the efficiency of the store forecasting methods. Let me take that. Okay, so one part is that. Second part is how your SKUs are designed for the store. Okay, what is the shelf life patterns of the SKU? Okay, how this SKU works in terms of the sales mix. So there's a lot of permutation combination that comes into it when we talk of the store level planning. When we talk about back-end planning, as I said, again, I'm just trying to repeat it. We are on a very high lead time. Our typical lead time from US may be 100, 110 days. Okay, we have a lot of US. Okay, so that's a different thing because that will go on inventory planning and the risk. If there's any risk on commodity or if there's any risk that's happening because of the freight, we have seen a huge volatility on the freight during 2020 and 2021. Very huge. It was pricing definitely there. The pricing of the freight went up like 4 times, 5 times, 10 times sometimes. Okay, because and that was happening because of the turnaround of the containers, the turnaround of the ships. Okay, so that is a key part of it. So, so a demand planner actually planning for a local item versus the international item will be totally different. His inventory levels were different. His risk mitigating capabilities will be very different at that point of time. But then it is easier for us because when we talk of a classical refrigerated or let's say frozen ingredients or SKUs, you have 12, 14 months, 18 months shelf life that's happening in the warehouse. But this shelf life suddenly changes into 5 days, 4 days as it goes into the outlet because of it doesn't have our outlet typically don't have frozen freezers that are chillers. So that transition on the shelf life has to be detected well in advance through demand sensing to really understand how it is going, and that is where the efficiency gets into the system because wastage is a very big part of the system for at least us who are into our food QSRs.
So, considering now you mentioned briefly about demand drivers, demand volatility, and what is the role of external factors? I mean, especially in your territory, whereas in India probably it may be completely different because of so much diversity. But in your case, I mean, what we have experienced from our understanding is that in India, every store has got different demand, influencers based on the location, based on the format of the store. If the store is in a mall, it's got different variables. For a store on a highway, it's got different. I mean, does it apply to your region as well?
So Ajay, we operate out of a smaller countries than India, so the distances are lesser. Okay, India highways can go up to like 8 hours, 10 hours, 14 hours, 18 hours. Our highway may go up to 6 hours, 4 hours, UAE maybe 3 hours. So the countries are small. Okay, UAE, I think so from a population point of view, is much smaller than Delhi. So second part of India, which is not as complicated here. India, every city is a different country in terms of taste, in terms of value for money, in terms of positioning. It's like very different. We don't have that level of complexity here. Okay, though if you ask me, a store operated on a highway definitely will have a different kind of a sales mix and the sales pattern compared to the store in the mall, compared to the store on the main street. Absolutely different. It also depends upon the area where you are. Okay, is it the area where you have a big village where families live? Is the area which is more dominated by singles or like so it depends upon your entire sales mix depends upon that also. Okay, sometimes it also depends, since your typical kind of UAE which has got 15 or 10% of nationals and 85% of expats, your nationality and the taste profiles changes. A Filipino taste profile will be very different from an Indian taste profile to Arabic taste profile to Egyptian taste profile. So that also changes. So that's more complexity compared to a distances or where the store is located.
Based on our experience till now, what we have learned is, that 20 to 30% of the demand actually that comes from, which is not smooth demand, which is, we call it in our term parlance, called intermittent demand, lumpy demand, or erratic demand, which is not really visible in your data in very clear, and to identify that, if you are able to identify that demand, then you can really enhance your demand accuracy to a much different level altogether. Now, Kiran, I want to ask you, being a tech guy, do you think techs like AI ML can help us to get into understanding these hidden patterns of demand which are not visible in a, I would say, time series data normally, and which is normally the smooth demand is easily visible in the time series data. But if you're looking at some of those variants, which is, as I mentioned, intermittent, lumpy, and erratic, how do you think AI ML is something which is now a availability to us to use effectively to uncover that demand pattern?
Yeah. So answer to this question, we are also trying to see how can we leverage this kind of cutting edge solutions in this kind of scenarios. I don't have a 100% proof saying that yes, this works, because see, basically the demand planning is based on your past historical information, external factors, your planning, your sale numbers. So all these are considered. As Sandeep quoted, in India also we also have so much of diversification in terms of how we operate in different regions, right from north to south or east to west. There are many factors at a state level factors, at regional level factors, at a city level factors, and there will be some political, there will be so many factors which are always keeping on impacting on the last mile supplies. Especially when it comes to the way, see how many distribution centers we operate, which distribution supplies to which all the states. So all these factors come in place. And using this kind of solution, like using such kind of external factors, how efficiently is it helping? There is no concrete answer for it. This is all in a POC kind of thing which we are currently working. We did not see a complete concrete answer saying that yeah, this is going to work for us. And there are many factors, so that all factors cannot be easily factored using a technology. It's not only technology, it's also the way how the input comes for this technology has to be properly designed.
Let me come back to about. Sorry, you're saying something, Kiran? Complete that.
Yeah. So like factors within the system, see, there are two factors. One is within your control and which is external. The internal factors, when we key into these systems and we try to use, it is very efficient and it is close to the results what we look at it. Mainly in terms of your, say for example, in India we have, I'm just quoting an example, somewhere around more than 150 menus. It's not a same menu which is across India. So if you go down south, there are some kind of menu. If you go to some west north part, you have a veg menu. Like there are different combinations of it. This all kind of factors can be factored into the system. But when the factors which are externally impacted and which are very spontaneous and which come in a short time, I don't see any factor which has been considered using this kind of tools.
Yeah, but I think we can have the discussion separately. We have done a lot of experiments on this, especially on external factors, and we have seen some good amount of success. So Sandeep, let me come to you. But coming as supply chain planning, traditionally the supply chain planning is done top down and bottoms up. Now, do you think in the food business, when we talked about importance of demand sensing, is that becoming important to use that data upward to do your not just the short-term planning for store replenishment, but also medium-term planning plus as well as long-term planning from the contracting point of view? I mean, do you think that the base data should come from the store, not from the Excel sheets and the balance sheets and the marketing plans?
Absolutely. They're like 100% spot on. The actual data, I don't know it's a bottom up or top down, but the actual data should be coming out of a customer, the buying of the customer. It's a real time process happening there. And that is going to happen there rather. So let's understand one thing. Today, I personally feel we are not in the seller's world, we are into a buyer's world now. So customer will buy what he wants to buy and he has options to buy also. So where the data flowing is basically what customer wants to buy, not what you want to sell. And how that's your P&L. That comes as a separate topic of discussion. So the demand sensing should actually happen to an extent of what customer is buying and there where a store-wise demand sensing comes into picture. So the order, your average per check, your which SKU is selling more, your sites are selling more, your mains are selling more. What is the time of that selling? Is it towards dinner? Is it towards lunch? People are just using it for snacking. So what exactly is that? Because if that data real time is available, you can really put so much efficiency in this process, and that efficiency percolates into your distribution plan, into your logistics, into a lot of things, into your route planning. Let's say, okay.
Yeah.
So there are things. If the guy who's sitting out of, I say, cockpit, where he's actually having all the data in front of him and he's doing his planning based on these variables, it becomes very easy for him to play with the numbers if it's a real-time right information on right time. Okay. This also is going back to our partners. Okay, because if they have a real-time sensing, they can put a lot of efficiency in their system for which you only is going to get the economies of scale, or you are going to get, a kind of a positive impact in terms of the costing. Because today they're doing a batch processing of, let's say, 2 tons or 2000 kgs. Tomorrow he see the demand and he said that this is what is the change happening in these markets. So why don't I do a one batch of 5,000 kg? Maybe the cost of processing that 5,000 kgs is better than 2,000 kg. Maybe 2%, 1%, but then every penny matters. So that's what my thinking is.
Have you also been, since you're also handling procurement, do you also do strategic procurement sometimes? And then you push it back into the market saying, okay, I have bought this, I have committed this kind of inventory. Now to sell this inventory, this is the kind of promotion pricing campaign we need to drive on.
So normally, no. Normally, no. Okay. But this happens in extreme factors, extreme factors where we know that the demand of some specific product was going on, let's say 100 per day per outlet or whatever, and has suddenly dropped down to 30, which is a drastic drop. We couldn't have sense it, and it has happened because of some factors that have happened in the country or whatever. Okay. So in that type of drastic time, there's no other option to, it's better to just make someone eat it, like, or, give it at a par cost rather than throwing the food. So, but that's a very, very abnormal, drastic condition where you have to actually think about it. It's still, if you can sell it at like the minimal cost, but if customers still don't want to buy it, he'll not buy it. Simple.
But that decision is taken at the store level or at the business level?
No, it is taken at the business level, and all the pros and cons of that is seen, because there may be chances that you are doing this kind of offer, which can go a long way in negatively impacting you.
The brand,
Yeah, a brand proposition, and it's always easy to start something and very difficult to end it. So,
right. So before we move on to, do you want to add anything, Kiran, on this before we move on to operational efficiency on the supply chain side?
Yeah. So very similar what Sandeep has put it. In India also we practice system will be showing a prescription. Basically, a system will be centrally driven and it will be generating the requirement to the restaurant. However, we have given a factor of overriding it by marginal. Say, for example, a particular product, a store can marginally play around 10 to 20% on what system prescribed. That will help store if any inefficiency in the system planning can be overridden by a restaurant manager by adding either plus or minus to it. So that much leeway we give it to a restaurant, but the entire planning is centrally controlled and centrally driven. And when it comes to the factors of this efficiencies, there will be a lot of chances and probabilities that there may be quality issues, or there may be callback products which has been went into the network. So 400, 500 restaurants across the country. So bringing them back, quarantining them in the system, all this has to be centrally controlled. So that store doesn't have anything to do. It will be controlled by the system so that it cannot go into a selling sales systems. It will be sitting back in the inventory systems and calling back that This all will be completely controlled by the system. It is driven by the system from the central procurement and planning team.
Now that we have agreed that the store level demand understanding, demand sensing is becoming important and relevant in the times to come, do you also think that, and my question is to Sandeep, that auto replenishment of building an auto replenishment model at the store level will make sense so that we can at least cut down some human error in terms of doing store plan, inventory planning or replenishment planning at the store?
Easier said than done.
Sorry?
So, I'm saying easier said than done. Possible to do it, but there are a lot of factors that affects us. Now, if you have a steady trend and you study the trend of, let's say, last 5 months, and then based on that 5 months, you actually plot a replenishment plan for the store. It can work, but then it doesn't capture the in-store marketing. It doesn't capture the in-store offers if they are making something, or if they are doing some local offers. Or it may also not capture some festivities which is going to happen, or some long weekends are coming, matches, a lot of factors it will not cover. So I would say it will be difficult. It's possible, but how do you really capture this and then allow the system to add on to this to really formulate what's going to be the final plan? So what I'm trying to say is the system will really take last 6 months and scratch out the data and try to create a replenishment. That's one part of it. Okay. But then what's going to happen in next 2 weeks, because you are planning for 2 days, 3 days, because the shelf life is like that. So it's a very, very short term plan. So when you are doing this planning, how do you inculcate a India-Pakistan match into it? Till we have the exactly. So I tell you the classical situation. India-Pakistan match that happened just now was washed away by the rain. So what was to happen, what happened was two different things. How an AI can really, I don't know if that is possible in this world.
Yeah. So I mean those are the external things we are talking about. If we can plan those in a, India-Pakistan match is known much in advance. If that can be planned in the system can predict that this is the kind of impact it will have. And of course, on top of that, we also have a weather impact put in. It may say, okay, these are the chances of rain. If the 60% chances of rain, then that impact can become negative impact rather than positive impact.
I would say if we have some kind of tool which may be driven by AI, ML, something like that, which actually predicts something based on different factors, then you can try to, how do you say, like you can try to adjust that factors. That is possible, but who is going to adjust this factor? Is it the store manager? I'm sure no way.
No, he can't understand. That's where we are trying to use technology to understand that,
Exactly. So how do you do it, and how do you really percolate in a way that it is very optimized way of doing it? So at least what happens is, if you think you are in an area which may be a national, maybe a dominated area for one nationality, maybe possible, during in Middle East countries, okay? And there is a match happening between that nationality, some other nationality, and this nationality of this country is losing the match. The party is over. And then the system really actually calculates the next 2 days and then adjusts itself. If that is possible, maybe what Ajay you are saying is possible. But it's really interesting to actually, brainstorm on this. So it's a very interesting thing.
No, but why I'm asking this, because we have done this with some brands. I don't want to name the brand, and we have seen some significant changes in their whole operational model. Because with this, what has happened is, one is that we have eliminated the human error possibility completely. The second is that it has improved. Of course, it takes time to come to that level of understanding by the system. It has improved the fill rate problem dramatically. And because of that, the sale has gone up, because now the stockouts are less. So which means you're not losing orders because of stockouts. The wastage has come down. So basically your inventory is more aligned to the demand. And if you're doing demand sensing in the real-time basis. And that helps in understanding, in also understanding these impacts, which I was talking about, external impacts over a period of time. And we have seen that how it has mattered different formats of stores differently because on the same day, you know. So I was just trying to verify and how you think, you know, maybe as you said that we have done it in India, maybe in other countries the impact maybe we may have to use a different approach to apply the same thing, you know.
Possible. If Ajay, this experiment has been done in India, it's possible. Okay, because I still say India is the most complex country in terms of QSR.
Mhm.
So it's possible. Maybe some variables may go up and down. Maybe.
So in connection with that, let me ask one more question about in replenishment cycle. Like currently what we are experiencing is most of the brands we have come in contact with, that they have a fixed replenishment cycle every store. Once in 2 days, once in 3 days, or once in a week, depending on the size of the store, sale of the store, or storing capacity. Uh, do you think is that the right way, or some of the places which we have also heard? I've not experienced it, that they do replenishment cycle based on the truckload because to save the logistics cost. What is the in your view what is the right way in terms of, you know, understanding the whole most efficient way of running the replenishment model? You
Very difficult to say anything about it, Ajay. You know, what is the efficient and non-efficient way of doing it? So the most efficient way is the most less costly way. Let's take it like that from a
know? Correct.
classical chain
Absolutely.
point
Yeah.
of view. Okay, and so there are countries, there are markets with us in which we do 4 times a week. Why this is required? Because of certain factors of volatility or certain factors of traffic or distances. Classical Pakistan market. Let's take it
Mm,
like that.
mm,
There are places where we do twice in a week. The places we do thrice in a week. Now,
mm,
can change to 2 weeks? Absolutely yes. If you have a really demand sensing, if you understand the thing and understand the replenishment pattern, absolutely can change. Can it come to once in a week? Not possible because the shelf life issue. Because the shelf life of the dough, the other kind of things is designed in a way that minimum 2 days in a week you have to do it. And I personally feel the more lesser is the stock on the store, the more optimum is the stock on the store, the more better. Because there where the wastage starts happening. The wastage
mm.
doesn't happen warehouse because warehouse still is sitting out of a 12-month, 14-month shelf life. But then this 14 months transits into 4 days or 5 days, there where the problem starts. So I would say depends upon the market, depends upon the distances from where you are manufacturing your dough or your supply centers, and also a kind of a. So I'll give you an example. Like normally in India, people want to work on a hub and spoke model. So they try to create the hubs across India because India is a huge country. Okay, and then in a typical Saudi Arabia, we tried creating it. Not viable because the cost of the fuel is, I don't know, 1/4 of India, maybe lesser than that. So it's
Mm.
not viable. So this is a classical case, which world over people try to create hub and spoke. It's not possible to create because it doesn't, it will not have a return on investment at all.
I also heard about for example, in the cold countries, in the winter season, they are doing only once in a week, and whereas in the summer season they do twice a week. You know, just because the conditions are completely different. And so, what is your view, Kiran, about this replenishment cycle, whether fixed model works or need-based model works, and especially you are handling two markets, India and Indonesia, which are completely different.
Yeah. So both the geographies shares very equal kind of challenges in terms of the supply and logistics. Wherein India has a different complexity, whereas Indonesia is an island country, so it has islands. So there the planning has to be done well in advance in terms of logistics, and we follow maximum as a fixed schedule. The first thing is it brings you efficiencies, and you are able to cover more number of restaurants when it comes to the trips. So accordingly your trucks are designed planned. If you make any change in this plan, your efficiency of truckloads will get affected. So that have been properly planned, designed, so that how many tonner truck has to go in which direction and which stores it has to be covered, which dates it has to travel. So all this making it into a planned way make more efficient what we are seeing the results. And when it comes to ad hoc, sometimes some factors affect, some burns, some strikes, some issues with some highways. There certainly we see a spike in cost and fill rate issues when we suddenly change any plan. And as I touched upon this previously, like majority of metros and where we have density of stores, we try to increase the number of shifts and try to optimize the inventories at restaurants. But when it comes to some remote stores which are far in distance, we try to reduce the number of trips, likely to be twice a week or thrice a week. That's how the best efficiency can be bought. As I also completely agree with Sandeep, doing one trip a week is completely a risk factor in terms of perishable food, and the storage is not enough. It will affect your fill rates. Many factors will affect, so it will create a customer experience challenges. So rather make sure that you have at least 2 trips a week in terms of deliveries. In India, we also try something called direct supplies. Some of the supplies which some of the products which can be directly supplied by the vendor at stores, the indent is generated in the system. Rather giving the orders at a central level from a procurement team, and this may be at a store level and local suppliers will supply. This will be, maybe this is a daily supplies in terms of your fresh, basically your tomato, onion, such kind of vegetables which can be supplied on a daily basis, and wherever the availability is there and wherever the quality factors are passed and they can supply. We also try that model so that every day you serve a fresh product to your customer, rather doing cut vegetables storing and coming through logistics. We try to avoid that and we try to go in this model.
Though our time is over, but I can see there is no question in the chat box, so let's continue for another 5-10 minutes.
Is there? Ajay, I just want to have one point here. You know, when Kiran regarding this direct supplies, we also do the same thing. Especially for vegetables, is very important because vegetable is very sensitive to temperatures, okay, and logistics. But we also with our other drinks and all, okay, which is possible because they have a better distribution system than us. A Pepsi or a Coke will always have a better system than us, okay. So leveraging on them, and also one more thing that I want to add on to it is basically in some of the countries I've seen that normally this distribution logistics is planned between 12 o'clock in the night and 4 o'clock in the morning. So the store is not open, but they have access to the store through the cards or something, and they just put everything inside. So first thing is nobody's time is getting wasted. Roads are empty, easier commuting, okay. But then is it possible in all the countries? I don't think so.
I have seen that happening in India. Actually, let me tell you, Sandeep, I've seen that at a Starbucks. I saw the van came, they took out the stuff, they went inside, they placed everything, they brought in, so they did everything without disturbing any staff member in the store. And then they went away with empty cartons, so which I thought was very impressive. And it just took them only around 10-12 minutes to do the whole thing,
So let me add here. So this is one of the efficiencies. What happens is, rather stores doing their quality check, the count at restaurants, what we practice generally in this, especially I saw in Indian market, what they do is, while these are loaded at the distribution center, the entire quality test and your quantity test, everything is done, and then they will be sealed. And then these pallets are just brought to the restaurant back office, just exchange with the empty cartons, empty pallets. Then the frictionless inward happens in the restaurant, because this is completely done at the warehouse and it's directly coming. It's just you are downloading it. That's it. We found this is much efficient in terms of stores, rather leaving this to number of stores to take care of.
So let me come to my another question. I remember, Sandeep, when I was talking to you last time, you mentioned about, for you, data availability is very important and is very critical. So how do you view availability of data, insights, and automation on decision making, making critical for your success, as a business head and the area you are handling, what is the importance of insights and automation of certain activities, certain processes, and right amount, right kind of data availability to you.
So, Ajay, automation is an absolute no-brainer. There's no you can do it without it. You can be doing it without it for now, but are you the most efficient? Maybe no. You are running the business, absolutely yes, but are you running the business in the most efficient way? Maybe no. Because what happens when you don't have a real data integration or the real data flow with the information and at the right time coming in, lot of decision happens with a gut feeling. So it's person-based decision. It's not a process-based decision. That person must be the greatest in making decision because he knows the business so well. But then he's making decision on his gut feeling. Sometimes gut feeling changes in a lot of things because we are humans at the end of the day. So bigger decisions on the business should not be made out of that. So, and also there's a lot of dynamics which we have seen it changing every year, and this is something trends we have never seen it before. So what we saw in 2020, 2021 was totally different. Then a commodity crisis and all these things in 2020 was totally different. I've never seen a commodity crisis in my life like this. Okay. So we thought that after COVID, the life will be like absolutely beautiful. It was not like that. It was really challenging, and the challenge that was coming to us was, I don't know, it was a challenge or it was a thrill or what it was like. You don't even know how to go out of it. And then you don't even know that how this is the next year coming and what is going to come in the next year. So when you're into such an unpredictable kind of situation, whom you can just rely on is the real-time data. And how it comes out of it is automation. Because I can still feel with the devaluation crisis in Pakistan or Egypt, that the sales mix, customer preferences, or my APC will be the same. I don't think so. Because the value of the money is changing. So the customer thinking about going out and buying a food from outside also changes. And this we have seen clearly in 2008, 2009 with Lehman Brothers happening. I was in India. People stopped going to fine dinings and started coming to cafes. We have seen the sales booming at that time. That's what I'm saying. And when you have such a plethora of different kind of markets sitting with you, not possible.
So Kiran, let me come to you. You heard what Sandeep said. In your view, what is the kind of data landscape and digital platforms are being invested upon by brands to this need, which is now becoming very critical, in this age.
Yeah. So as we share the same domain, so over last 2 decades we are seeing data leveraging, data using in all touch points in retail industry. So one thing comes very clear is having a data lake or a data layer which capture the right data in the system and which can be then used by your tools, either your BI tool or your planning tool or your AI/ML tool. So this data layer is one of the key pillars, or it's a heart of any business for taking decisions. So all management decisions will be based on it. Having said, as long as this data is not an information for making a decision, data is just sitting like a data. It cannot give you any message. And today's world, we have data is classified into 2 data. You have your structured data, which is coming from your structured sources, and unstructured data, which is coming from your social media, your external data, or your partnerships, your third parties. So all this data plays a critical role, but how sanity this data is there with you and how you are able to efficiently use this data makes a key. So if you are having a advanced AI/ML tool, but your data is not efficient, then no tool can give you a right results. So getting this data at a prime level itself into a quality data and feeding into right systems is a factor. It's now most of the restaurants, most of the organizations understands this, and the key success relies on how good you are having a right data in your right places.
Lovely. Thank you very much, both of you. But I must do little sales call in the end. You know, I wanted to basically, one of the reasons I organized this conversation was to also get some inputs, because I'm driving an IP called Resense, which I have developed in Neelit a couple of years ago. And the idea is to build this platform to use data and also enable brands like yours, especially food brands, because I personally feel very fascinated with food brands, where the variability is too much about demand variability, and there are many challenges, as you guys all covered in your conversation. And I think, how do you use technology to understand those impacts from all sides? And we have done some experiments, as I said, it's a real-time experiment. We have had very good success, and we are obviously we are here to make it more and more comprehensive as much as possible, with more knowledge, more experiences, more insights from people like you, and especially for participants who are sitting in this session. I mean, if you have similar problems, please reach out to us. Rachita will give you the email ID, and we will be happy to share whatever we can with you into how we can, if we can help you. But yeah, it was interesting, and we are happy. And Kiran, I would love to meet you and spend some time with you. On you said you're looking for some solution. I mean, let's see if I can be of any help to you. That'll be
Sure.
nice. And any final parting comments from each one of you, please?
Only one comment from me. I think so. Whatever we are at the QSR can just be at a QSR thing rather than retail. I think so. A lot of collaborative effort is required between QSRs to see that how do you just get into a most efficient zone, because we are actually getting into a kind of a situation which is a high money value situations with the customer. Customer requires a high money, I don't say return on investment, but high money value for the spend, that he's doing. And how do you try to just make sure that you are the most efficient in the back end and the front end to at least make sure that your margins are intact?
Hmm. Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you. Kiran?
So this is all about how you are making your supplies efficient. So I do agree with Sandeep in terms of the key factor for QSR business is your profitability and your customer experience. Both are hand in hand, both being complemented. If you have an efficient supply chain, I think getting operation excellence is not far. So getting a right supply chain for the right geography and having a leverage of right technology is a key for the success.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much. And as usual, we'll stay in touch. We'll keep sharing more knowledge with each other. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your inputs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.